Dina Dahl is here, attorney and Midas Touch host. And then joining us later, if he's not here already, Michael Popak is a national trial lawyer, legal analyst, and the host of Legal AF, the Legal AF podcast. Welcome to everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Dina and Charles, we appreciate it. So I want to play this, what the court did today, and then I'm going to get your take on it. Here it is, Andy, play it.
Thank you, Adam. 8:32 now. A number of Supreme Court rulings coming down this morning. One that clears the way for the Trump administration to limit how many migrants could apply for asylum each day as the U.S.-Mexico border. The practice known as metering was used during both the Obama and first Trump administrations. Supporters say it helped manage large numbers of asylum seekers, while critics argue it left thousands of migrants waiting in unsafe conditions. The policy is not currently in effect, but the 6-3 ruling allows the administration to consider bringing it back. The Supreme Court also allowing the administration to end temporary legal protections for migrants from Haiti and Syria. This opens the door to possible deportations for hundreds of thousands of people. Now, the program known as Temporary Protected Status, or TPS, allows people from countries facing war or disaster to live and work in the U.S. The justices sided with the administration after lower courts had blocked that move. Immigration advocates say Haiti and Syria remain unsafe, while the government says the protections were always intended to be temporary.
Oh, boy. Here we go. I see you. I'm going to go to you, Dina, first. You're shaking your head. And by the way, I love your shirt.
Okay, good. Yeah, I love your shirt too. Devastating. I mean, really no words. The string of decisions that were issued today across the board, frankly, not just immigration, but the guns and the chemicals in our food, but the immigration just devastating. The Supreme Court there, the part about the not allowing the metering. That one is so disturbing because they created a policy that said you don't have to cross into the border. We're going to make this more organized. You can stay in Mexico and apply for asylum there. And then they said, well, because you didn't cross into the border, you weren't here and cannot grant asylum. That bait and switch is devastating. The people who travel hundreds and thousands of miles under the most difficult conditions to just be able to put their foot on our soil and ask for asylum. They don't even necessarily always get it, but they get a chance to get asylum. And we rip that away. And we offer them some sort of alternative that, of course, now the Supreme Court has made a mockery of because it's not even an alternative. It's devastating on a human level and devastating for our democracy.
It's very interesting that you said bait and switch, because I think that's what it, and that is what this court and really the Justice Department have been doing, these bait and switch tactics. Charles.
Yeah, Don, today is a day that I think people need to look at in terms of not red and blue, not Democrat or Republican, but understanding fundamentally what this means around American democracy. And the reason I say that is because you had half of the judges who were looking at the intention of clearly defining powers of branches of government and giving more power to the executive branch. And then you had the other justices who were thinking about the impact that these decisions were going to have. So Sonia Sotomayor, for example, was talking about the impact, understanding that regardless of whether you make this facially neutral in terms of the powers that you're giving to the president, the impact that it is going to have in this particular moment is going to affect human life. People are going to die. And our viewers need to understand that, at least on the surface, the 6 justices, particularly with respect to the TPS case, their reasoning was allegedly, not based on what countries were going to be immediately affected, but rather the amount of power that they were going to allow the executive branch to have in terms of setting immigration policy. They limited judicial review, or basically removed judicial review over TPS as a process, even as proponents of review had argued, hey, we're not even saying that you should have a say in the courts over what the decisions are, but at least the court should have a say or a review over the process that the government is using in terms of when and where they grant TPS. And the court said no. They have no place in those decisions whatsoever. Now, that's an intention thing from a power place to give power to the presidency. But the three liberal justices understood that in this moment, the impact of giving that type of power to the executive branch was not only going to adversely affect people from certain countries who look like everyone on this panel, people from certain ethnic backgrounds and nationalities, but that the fact that those people come from particular places that are in civil unrest will ultimately result in the loss of life. And so for people who are non-lawyers who are watching this, Don, it's important to understand in breaking this down, it is a conversation of intention of the 6 conservative justices versus impact, which is the 3 liberal justices really understood.
Okay, so Charles, I understood what you said, but for, let's say, in layman's terms, what does this mean? It seems to me that you're saying they're not following the rule of law. They're doing what the president wants. They're doing what is ideologically, what they believe, what their ideology is, what they believe is politically expedient for them. Not necessarily politically expedient. Maybe that's not the right term, because they're there for life. But they are using the law to somehow interpreting the law in a way that is best for them ideologically.
Well, I'll do you one better. I'll give you a third option, and Dina can talk about this in terms of her experience as a lawyer. They're rewriting law. They're writing law from the bench in as much as the powers that they are giving to the executive branch. Donald Trump has essentially said, I'm going to do a variety of different things that are unprecedented, and I dare the courts to stop me. He has basically dared the stress test of American democracy vis-a-vis checks and balances, understanding that the Supreme Court has the ability to check him, but betting that they won't. And in this case, he was right. So they are essentially, Don, rewriting law from the bench. They are legislating from the bench in a way that is giving the president more and more power. So the political expediency of it is a thing, yes. But more importantly, what they're doing is beyond an interpretation of the law. It is bestowing what I would argue are new and expanded powers on the branch of the executive.
The Hill is saying Sotomayor offers blistering dissent on SCOTUS asylum decision. More people will die. And then I want to, there's someone who called into our program earlier today, guys, and I want you to listen to this. She is concerned, and as are a lot of Americans who have dual citizenships or who may be in similar positions about asylum, etc. They are concerned, and this is what she said, and this was my answer. You tell me if I'm correct.
I was born in Germany to parents who were in the service, and I have I had dual citizenship in Germany and U.S. Does this Supreme Court decision or whatever they decide to do, is that going to affect me?
Not at all.
No.
You're not affected. You're grandfathered in, as they say, and it doesn't. I mean, you said German. You were a dual citizen with German. Is that right?
Yes, I was born in Germany.
Oh no, there's white people there. You're good.
Army. Okay.
I mean, am I wrong?
Not wrong.
Dina?
Oh, not wrong. Absolutely. As you say, it's not a coincidence. It was Haiti and Syria. I mean, here we back a civil war in Syria. People flee. We say they can legally come here. This is a legal mechanism. And again, another bait and switch, devastating, unhuman. And then the balance of the power, I think you were so right. The fact that they said there was no judicial review is the tell. That means that they're taking away a judge's power. A judge's power is judicial review. That's how you would call it. It's the ability of a judge to look at a set of cases, of facts and law, and make a determination. They are giving away their power to the most racist, out of control administration ever, with really devastating consequences.
Yeah. I want to play this, and I want you to respond, Charles, first. This is from Stephen Miller. And as we said in our pre-show meeting, being the worst person ever. Watch.
In the first Trump administration, President Trump ended TPS for Haitian illegals and was frozen by the courts. The Biden administration came in. They flew Haitians right over the border by airplane, dumped them into American towns all over the country, particularly in Springfield, Ohio, destroying these tight-knit communities, and gave them all, again, this TPS, temporary protected status, which gives them unfettered access to welfare and other benefits in the United States. Trump ended that benefit again here in the second term, even though the statute says that it is judicially unreviewable, meaning Congress said the courts can't review it. Our rogue radical judges stymied that for the last 16 months. And again, now here we are because of the Supreme Court, and we can finally remove these Haitian illegal migrants from the United States. It is a momentous victory, albeit this should have never taken 10 years. It is outrageous that we have judges in this country who continue to supplant their own radical beliefs for the democratic views and judgments of hardworking American citizens.
I just got, I was just triggered because I had a flashback from when he would be on my show on CNN. Okay, so, and I would have to tell him to calm down.
It's really rich to hear a white nationalist talk so ardently about radicalist views. I also find it very rich that there is a very intentional concentration on the notion of Haitian immigration when the stats tell us that the number one group of immigrants in America right now are white South Africans. And there's no conversation about that. So to your point, Don, that you made to the caller, I think that this administration understands very, very clearly where the red meat for its base is. And if you paint the face of immigration as being brown or black people from what they call third world shithole countries, there is much less of a humanitarian sentiment around protecting any different rights just from a humanitarian place that they might have, as compared to pointing to the reality of immigration in America right now, which is that there are white South Africans who are coming here in droves, basically being given unfettered access to the immigration policies of America and their processes without any review or scrutiny from this administration. I am not knocking the notion of white South Africans being able to avail themselves of these processes any more than I am saying that if it's available for one group, then it should be available for all.
True that. Michael Popak is here. Michael Popak is a legal strategist, a national trial lawyer, and the host of Legal AF podcast. Hey, Michael, thanks for joining us. This panel of esteemed legal minds, except for moi. I don't know if you heard when you were in the green room, Stephen Miller.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, he's
he
a
always,
horrible person.
When he was on CNN with you, did he always have that slight British affected accent of his?
He always had that, and he would always get up and he would get wound up, and then he would just go crazy. And I thought he was going to say, "And these N-words" or something, because he just wound himself up. But anyways.
Went to Duke. I don't really understand where this comes from. And when they create the animatronic Stephen Miller for the Hall of Horribles one day, with his. He's so, we got to stop him from practicing law without a license.
He looks like a villain in a Pixar film. I'm sorry.
Yes.
So wait a minute, Michael. So the accent is fake. I thought it was like some sort of New England accent.
No,
it's like that. It's the fake. You remember the Mid-Atlantic accent that they would talk in movies? They weren't quite British.
Huh?
He grew up in
Los Angeles.
He grew up. He was an LA kid. I thought he had Jersey.
He went to Venice High School. I know somebody who went to high school with him.
Well, he didn't get it from there.
Definitely
he didn't get it from there. Look. The TPS. You want to talk about Supreme Court? Is that what we're doing?
Yes.
What are we doing? What are we doing? We're doing Supreme.
Yeah, we're doing the Supreme Court. That's what
We're
we're
doing
doing.
the-
That's why you're here.
The Alito run of today,
Yeah.
which, for a guy that, maybe on his way out, he had this last gasp of opinions today, all terrible. You can just pick any one of them. And then he got like frustrated with Sotomayor because she took him to task and read her dissent in the case about asylum seekers, and read a passage from her dissent about those that were turned away and ended up dying in the Holocaust because they couldn't make it to shore. Their ship was turned away. And, we're reading. I didn't know she was reading a dissent. If I knew she was reading a dissent, I would have done more in my comments. I mean, seriously, this is why we need cameras in the courtroom, right? Because the stuff that Alito gets away with, because he can get away with it and he's not being recorded, is ridiculous. But if you want to get the common denominator of this Supreme Court, it is that they have a narrow view of rights, civil rights, constitutional rights. It's the 6-3 MAGA majority struck again. 2 cases about immigration that are terrible. The proud Haitian community in this country, people that are here under TPS, are working their ass off, contributing billions of dollars of taxpayer money. They're often supported by communities of Americans, like the Haitian American community in Miami, where I live, the proud community there. And they are not eating your pets. And there's a reason that they were allowed to be here. It's because their own countries are either war-torn or a natural disaster or something that makes it unsafe for them to be in their countries, whether it's Venezuela or Syria, or in this case, in Haiti. And to toss these people out is so inconsistent with our American values, with our American patriotism. And to have Stephen Miller, despite what the polls tell him, announced with great fervor, we've got to win. We get to send other human beings back to areas where they may die. Isn't that great? That's not great. And to have the court say today that for asylum seekers, for instance, in another case, they have to get themselves with a foot or a finger onto dry land or whatever in the United States in order to even seek asylum. First of all, law of unintended consequences. People are going to be working extra hard to sneak into the United States, don't you think? They're going to, right? So they get snuck in, no matter how they get in, as long as they're on the other side of the wall or the port, they get to apply for asylum. But if they never get there because they're being shoved back, either physically or by structure or otherwise by the U.S. government, oh, sorry, you never get to seek asylum as if you're in the United States because you're not in the United States. And that's a terrible look and policy for a country that's supposed to be, as the Statue of Liberty says, welcoming our tired, our poor, and our huddled masses to the United States.
Mm-hmm. I want you guys to listen to this. It's a little bit, I'll play it after. I'm going to get a word in, but I want you to listen to something that Maxwell Frost is talking to his Haitian brothers and sisters and siblings that we love, he says. First, a word from our sponsors, and then you can hear from Maxwell Frost.
Support comes from Shopify. Now, when I launched the Don Lemon Show, I thought the hardest part would be sitting in front of the camera every day. Turns out it was everything happening behind the scenes. Building a website, selling merch, managing orders, keeping track of inventory. Every day there was another decision to make. And that's why Shopify has been such a great partner for us. Shopify powers millions of businesses worldwide and about 10% of all e-commerce in the United States. We use it for our very own merch because it puts everything in one place. Your storefront, inventory, payment, shipping, marketing, even AI tools that help you create product descriptions and improve your workflow. Whether you're launching your first business or growing one that's already successful, Shopify gives you the tools to spend less time managing your store and more time building it. So if you're ready to sell, you are ready for Shopify. Start your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/lemon. That's shopify.com/lemon. The Don Lemon Show is brought to you by the Freedom from Religion Foundation. As America approaches its 250th anniversary, it is worth remembering one of the principles that has helped define this country from the very beginning. Freedom means that you have the right to practice a religion, you have the right to change your religion, and you have the right to have no religion at all. Those freedoms only work when government stays neutral. That's exactly what the founders intended when they wrote a constitution with no state religion, no religious test for public office, and protections that belong to everyone, regardless of what they believe. Those principles still matter today as debates over religion and government continue in our schools, our courts, and our public life. The Freedom from Religion Foundation works every day to protect the First Amendment because it protects everybody's freedom of conscience. Learn more or become a member at ffrf.us/Don or text Don to 511-511. That's Don to 511-511. Text fees may apply.
And thank you to our sponsors that keep us powered. I promised Maxwell Frost. I will get to Maxwell Frost, but I want to get to Alan Orr first, who's on MS Now, saying that people will die as a result of the SCOTUS ruling, in line with what Sonia Sotomayor is saying. Here it is.
Very devastating, and I hope we stop talking about it as the Trump administration won or someone won, because right now America lost. There are going to be a lot of jobs that are open and a lot of people in home health care industries that are not going to receive any service because their providers are going to be removed from the United States. There are a lot of people who are going to die and suffer because of the account of this. So I wish this court was more of a court of equity than they say they were a court of policy right now. So I am the chair of the Haitian Bridge Alliance, which is the United States organization that represents these Haitians before the Supreme Court. And we have made the argument that not just his comments, but also in the writings and just recently, even the discovered emails from Kristi Noem about the clear conversations they've made about Haitians and Black immigrants in general, when you even look at the refugee policy. And this court has said, even with that information, there's nothing for us to do here, which seems to be extremely problematic along party lines. And today you've seen something that I haven't seen in the Supreme Court in a very long time, is that you've seen the justice sort of read dissents that are 35 pages from the bar. So even in the Supreme Court, you see not the harmony that generally exists there in peaceful dissent in saying that this is outside the norm. And because it is outside the norm, because it isn't about just policy and procedure, this is about people and human engagement. And the concept that people keep saying that the problem is that it's temporary status and it's been longer than temporary, well, change the word. Don't put people's lives in danger because you feel that that arbitrarily moves something. And as stated before, there are a million so classes of TPS individuals who are here legally working. So they're authorized, they've been vetted. There's none of the concerns that you have with people who may come in undocumented, as well as they're supporting our economy. And when you remove those individuals, you draw down all of those work areas. So all those jobs they're doing, all of these companies that were relying on these TPS workers to work tomorrow are going to have to make decisions about them leaving today. So this is not a big win that we think we're going to celebrate. And there are 350 million or more Americans in the United States. A million TPS holders are not causing some economic burden on the United States.
And Don, there's a bill that's still floating around Congress. It passed the House to protect the Venezuela, the Haitian community and the Venezuelans. It's still kind of being jerked around in the Senate. It already passed in the House. I think it was a 220 to 207 vote, something like that. And that would solve the problem of this activist Supreme Court ripping away their right and ability to continue to contribute to American society.
Yeah. His overall point I thought was good, Dina. And if you think it's not going to affect you, perhaps I think that you're wrong. I think this affects all of us. This affects. Go on. Sorry.
No, I mean, absolutely. And I think it's important to note too how much the line is changing, right? I mean, you know, he campaigned on this idea of illegal immigration. And even in the clip that you showed of Stephen Miller, he says there at the end, you know, we're going to stop, you know, we've righted the wrong of all of the illegal migrants that came in. He used the word illegal. This is a legal program. Both of these are legal programs that they have gotten away with ending. This is not about ending undocumented immigrants. This is about, as you had said before, people from the wrong countries, from those, you know, brown countries, not having them become citizens, not having them become residents. This is just the beginning. You know, they have the Supreme Court willing to help them unravel legal laws that allow people of the wrong color, according to them, to come in. And to his point about these decisions killing people, frankly, I would say all of the decisions today are about killing people. So great that Michael Popok is on, because he and I actually co-host a Supreme Court podcast on the Legal AF channel called Unprecedented. And we've been following all these cases. And in addition to these two immigration cases, you're talking about the the chemical case, Monsanto. Cancer victims. Yeah, I know. Why am I mispronouncing that? Cancer victims, they were shielded from suing them because of the chemicals killing them. That kills people, because our civil litigation helps protect people, helps keep corporations in check. The Hawaii gun law, which Hawaii had said that if you were a private business, you could basically put up a sign saying guns are not allowed. We're talking about private businesses now are forced to allow people to come in with guns. That's going to kill people. I would say all of the decisions today, none of them are about the well-being of the American people or about the well-being of humanity. They're about consolidating power in this real white supremacist administration that is right now has Trump. There'll be somebody after him to take it over too.
Don, I want to follow up on Dina's point, because as we pay attention to these decisions, I want the audience to watch how the breakdown of justices continue to pile up 6-3, 6-3, 6-3, 6-3. And why does that matter? It matters because we're not talking nearly as much around the X's and O's of black letter law. We're talking about ideological splits. And these ideological splits are rooted beyond who actually put you into office. They're beyond an actual president. These are ideological splits about literally what it means to be an American. And the Supreme Court is really at its core designed to make interpretations about the law. But what we know and what we see and what we are witnessing is that there are a number of justices that are rather content with their power being to legislate from the bench, which is not something that's supposed to happen. And again, we're not talking solely about black letter law here and it being interpreted. We're talking about a supermajority of conservatives who are well content to impose their ideology about American democracy on the nation. Now, for people who are saying, well, that's not entirely a new thing, they would be correct in that sense. But the supermajority is where we're starting to see it play out the way that it is, because you may see in the past decisions that are 7-2, decisions that are 5-4, but this string of 6-3 decisions that are breaking down specifically along these lines only reinforce the idea that this is a conversation about ideology, not about the law.
Yeah. Before I bring in my legends, I want to ask you guys about something, because Sonia Sotomayor was so disturbed by that ruling today that she did something that justices don't often do, and which is she read her dissent from the bench. She read it to her colleagues' faces, and she said, "The consequences of today's decision are predictable. More people will die. More people will attempt to cross the border illegally. More people will be forced to walk along dangerous conditions trying to find a port that will actually inspect them. More people will turn back and be subjected to violence because of something they cannot or should not have to change about themselves, like their race, their religion, their nationality," she says. And then she goes on to say, she invoked the MS St. Louis. You guys know the MS St. Louis? You know that story? In 1939, a ship left Germany carrying more than 900 Jewish refugees fleeing the Nazis. They went to Cuba, turned away. They came to the United States, turned away. They went to Canada, turned away. They went back to Europe, and more than 250 of them died in the Holocaust. We turned away Jewish people fleeing the Nazis and spent 80 years saying never again. And this morning, the Supreme Court said, actually, here's how you do it again. And then Alito wrote in the major opinion, Sotomayor caught him so off guard with his dissent that he broke from tradition and responded from the bench, said that he would have added more to his summary if he had known she was going to do that. So she shook him, and good. At least in my opinion, but it doesn't really change much for the people who need to seek asylum and aren't going to get it. And as you say, well, as she said, we'll die, Michael.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a stunning. I mean, what you have is a frustrated group of three. If we're talking about the 6-3, it's Ketanji Brown Jackson and dissent over and over again, speaking to history, speaking to law students, speaking to the future. And because it's impossible to change the hearts and minds of the MAGA 6, it's just not going to happen. So it's often Ketanji Brown Jackson, then Sotomayor, and occasionally Kagan, who have to, it's going to be like when I was in law school and Dina was in law school, and you saw all these amazing dissents that eventually became the majority position. So there's people say, well, what does it matter? They're always on the losing end of 6-3, and they don't have to write dissents. There's no requirement that you write a dissent, but they're writing it for a reason, that there will be a blueprint for a future case, for instance, that could come up to the United States Supreme Court, citing to the dissent, and try to reshape the result. For instance, I don't think it's over with our last criminal immunity decision by the United States Supreme Court, because I expect the next Department of Justice, if run by the Democrats, to actually bring cases to figure out what are the parameters of that very murky decision, and send cases that way. And oftentimes dissents will provide the lighted path for a future case brought by the next administration. So they're very, very important. They speak to so many different audiences when a Ketanji Brown Jackson or Sotomayor or Kagan speak. And as you said, got under the skin of Alito there. Now, look, there's a rumor going around that he's counting down the days here to give Donald Trump another pick. That it'll be Alito first, could be even after this summer. That's why you see this last burst of Alito opinions. Alito. And then as soon as Clarence Thomas gets to be the longest serving, so it's hard to, I can't believe my mouth is forming the sentence, the longest serving Supreme Court justice of all time, sometime right before the midterm, he's going to step off also.
Oh my gosh. You know what? What's so weird is that I you guys remember, I remember the Anita Hill hearings and all that and all of that back in the day. You'd sit in bed or sit on the couch and watch them. Okay, guys, thank you. I appreciate it. I have to run because I got to get my legends are on and we got to see you soon. So thank you very much. I'll see you all very soon. Thank you. And I love the shirt, Dina. Thank you for wearing our merch.
I love it too.
Alert. All right. Thank you. Our legal minds.